Hello, my name is Noah Elkrief, and today I'm going to talk about how to address the root of loneliness. So, for those that know me, welcome back. This is going to talk about loneliness in a very different way than my previous videos. And for those of you that are new, hi, welcome. So I made a few videos about loneliness at least 5 or 6 years ago, and those have helped a lot of people. I think it has well over 1 million views. And in that time, in the last 5 or 6 years, I have worked with hundreds of people about loneliness, something like that. And I've also discovered a tremendous amount of loneliness within myself. I've felt every type of loneliness, probably, or many types of loneliness, from feeling like incredibly all alone, from feeling like I'm all by myself in this world, feeling isolated, feeling all types of abandonment and sad, and I don't know, just many different experiences, many depths, many intensities of feeling loneliness. Feeling not seen, not heard, not understood, like no one's like me, nobody knows me. All different types of experiences of loneliness, or can go under the category umbrella of loneliness. And I'm choosing to make this video now, partly because the coronavirus situation is causing so many people to isolate themselves and not have human interaction, which from my perspective doesn't create loneliness, but activates the loneliness that's already inside of us. But I was already planning really to make it because it's just such an epidemic. It's so widespread that practically everyone's feeling lonely, albeit many people are more successful than others at denying it, ignoring it, running away from it, or disassociating from it. So, let's get into it, I guess. What causes loneliness? What is loneliness? For me, loneliness is a form of unsafety. So many times, like when you hear the word lonely, the first associations that often come up with it are being by yourself. That loneliness is created by being by yourself. So if you're not with friends, if you don't have a romantic partner, if you don't have children, this creates loneliness. And therefore, if the cause of loneliness is not having friends, not having a partner, then the solution is obviously to have more friends, to have a partner, to have children. And for others, the people who do have children or a partner or friends and still feel lonely, oftentimes they can conclude, they assume that the cause of loneliness is that their partner, their friends, or their children don't love them enough, don't hear them enough, don't listen enough, aren't the right fit, or whatever else. And therefore they conclude that the solution must be to change their partner, change their friends, change their children so that they hear them more, see them more, understand them more, give them more love, spend more time with them, or to change their friends, partner, or children. I guess not change children. To find someone that loves them more and sees them more and can give them the better treatment so that they don't have to feel lonely anymore. And I understand this logic. It seems like it makes sense. But the important thing to understand about loneliness is practically never created by what's factually happening in your situation right now. I'll say that again. Loneliness is almost never caused by what's occurring in your physical situation in reality now. So what causes it? Basically, what's happening in our situation right now, or in this current moment in time, is activating a remnant, buried loneliness in our body. So there's loneliness in almost all of us. And loneliness is basically an emotion, an energy. So an emotion can be called an energy. This is another way to say emotion. And there are, throughout our childhood, throughout our lives, when we have an emotion that we aren't able to express, we aren't able to let out, that emotion stays with us. It gets buried. And when an emotion gets buried, it's not that we experience it all the time. It's just there waiting for the next time it gets activated, the next time it comes to the surface, for us to experience it, for us to notice it, for us to physically feel the sensations of it, or for us to notice the thoughts around it. So in our current situations, even if we're alone in a room by ourselves or have extended time away from people, it's not that the situation itself is causing the loneliness, it's that the situation itself is activating loneliness that has been buried inside of us, probably for a really long time. So to make that more clear, or to give like an association to help you understand it, if you step on a snake or almost step on a snake, which happened to me, that's why I often use this example, there can be a trauma there. So an emotion came up in the moment, maybe fear, and the fear was so intense that you couldn't feel it in the moment. You couldn't express it and let it out because you had to be so focused on your survival. So the fear gets buried in our body. It stays in our body. And when it stays in our body, then anytime something happens in our situation now that reminds us of that previous moment, the fear will be activated. So oftentimes when I saw a stick, like when I'm walking, particularly at night, and out of nowhere I see a stick on the ground in front of me by my feet, I often jumped, like physically jumped. Now I physically jumped not because a thought said it's dangerous. My mind knows it's not dangerous. I physically jumped because my body was responding automatically as if the stick could be a snake. There's like this association that a long stick-like item, right, thing on the floor is potential danger, so I jump. Now, my jumping, my fear, isn't caused by the stick. The stick is simply reminding my system of a moment when I was in danger and it's trying to protect me. You can imagine that that's, how do we say it, like a survival, what is that called? Like it's evolutionarily helpful, right? Because then I'm much more likely to avoid snakes. I'm much more likely, so if I almost died from a snake, then in the future my body's like, I'm going to help protect you from snakes. So you're going to jump and feel fear anytime something possibly could be one that looks like it. Make sense? So loneliness, the vast majority of the time, is created in our early childhood, is formed in our early childhood. And the reason why is very simple. If we don't have people as children, as young children, as babies, as toddlers, as young children, we will die. We are not safe. We are physically, in reality, unsafe if our parents leave us, don't feed us, don't give us shelter. Right? So when we feel unsafe, as children, as infants, as babies, we often can't feel it. It's often too intense for us to feel. You can notice in your own experience, even as an adult or as a high schooler or whatever, that sometimes fear is too intense to handle. So we bury it, we run away from it, we distract from it. So you can imagine as a baby, you can imagine as a child, that the intensity of fear is sometimes way too intense to handle. So instead of feeling it, expressing it, crying it, shaking it, we disassociate from it. We leave our body, we go up to our head, which is why many of us become analytical. But that's a separate subject. So the feeling of unsafety gets stored in our body, gets pushed down in our body, and can be called a trauma, an emotional trauma, whatever type of thing you want to call it. And that unsafety when it has to do with being by yourself, we call loneliness. Okay? So if you imagine throughout our childhood, there was probably, for most of us, if not all of us, there were many, many moments when our parents didn't meet us the way that would make us feel safe. So for example, maybe you're in your room by yourself, in the crib or in the bed, and you feel pain. Maybe you feel pain in your stomach, pain in your foot, pain in your head. You feel a sensation that's too intense. And maybe you cry or scream, but your parents don't come for you. What happens then? Sometimes the parents are even taught that that's the right thing to do, to not come for their babies and their children, which I don't agree with. And so in those moments, we're terrified. There's a part of us that thinks we can die or feels this is not safe. This is a pain that I can't handle. It's too much. I don't know what it is. And it's scary. And I need someone from outside of me. I'm a dependent human being. I need someone from outside of me to take care of me so I can feel safe, so I can be safe, not just feel safe, be safe. But if no one comes, what happens with all that unsafety? Well, if we can express it, maybe some of it comes out, but a lot of the time we can't express it. We can't express it, so it gets buried inside of us. So what is the physical situation we're in that moment when we bury the unsafety? Alone in a room. So now, as adults, sometimes if we're alone in a room and we look around, it is absolutely terrifying. Or it shows up in the form that we call loneliness, which is I'm all alone, it's scary, I don't like it, it's painful. But your loneliness, your unsafety, is not caused by being alone in a room as an adult. Being alone in a room simply reminds your system of the unsafety you felt as a baby, as a child. You with me? So what are some other moments we felt unsafe as children? Well, maybe you're sharing your emotion or sharing what's going on with you with your mother or father, but they're not hearing you. They're not seeing you. They're not really there with you. They're disassociated. They're in their own problems. They don't care. They're overwhelmed with work, and they're just not there with you. How does it feel? Whether you have access to it or not in this moment, as children, it feels scary. Whether we can admit it or not, doesn't matter. It's dangerous if our parents don't pay attention to us, if they're not meeting us. You understand? They might love us. They may intellectually or like inside of them, but they might not have access to love, access to meeting us, access to connecting, access to care because of all the emotional stuff they have going on within them. So when we're there sharing our problems, our emotions, our pain, our hunger, right? Particularly as babies, we can't even vocalize, we can't fully clearly express at all what we want. And if our parents aren't receiving us, if they're not giving us what we want, hearing us, seeing us, taking care of us, we end up feeling unsafe and perhaps being unsafe because we're not getting the care we need. Not getting our diaper changed, not getting the milk, not getting the food, whatever the case may be. And so that unsafety now stays in our body when we aren't able to express it. So now, when is it triggered? When we're with people who aren't seeing us, who aren't hearing us, who aren't really there with us when we're expressing our emotion or expressing whatever happened with our day. So then our loneliness gets triggered, activated. Our unsafety gets triggered, activated when the people around us aren't meeting us with love, care, and connection. So them not meeting us with these qualities isn't causing loneliness, it's simply activating the loneliness we felt as children, because something about how they're meeting us reminds us of how our parents were meeting us, particularly if it's a woman, right? If so, she's not hearing me or seeing me, maybe it reminds me of when my mother wasn't hearing me or seeing me. If I'm with a man and I feel lonely when they're not hearing me or seeing me, it's reminding me of when my father was not hearing me or seeing me as a child, when I needed it, right? As adults, we don't need other people to feel safe. We don't need other people to be safe, but we often need other people to feel safe because of all this buried stuff inside. So now that we understand the root of loneliness in some way, right? I could talk for hours about this, but I want to try to make it as succinct as possible. I have no idea how long I'm going to talk for. So the root of loneliness is our childhood, when we needed care, attention, physical presence of our parents or caretakers. Okay? So that means whatever's happening in our current environment as adults, it's not causing our loneliness. It's simply activating it. That means that the solution is not changing something about our environment. Okay? If you look to others, if you look to a friend, a partner, or a child to help cure your loneliness, heal your loneliness, make you feel better, which is what society says is normal and what you should do, find more friends, find a partner, then you won't feel lonely. You are using another human being to try to get rid of your feelings that you don't like. That is not love, that is not care. So the relationship is now based on the fundamentals, the building blocks of using a person. Now, since nobody has the capacity to eliminate or release or heal your buried loneliness, your buried unsafety, it will never be enough. So you're constantly looking for something from someone that they can't actually give you. So if you're looking for it from a partner or a friend, like you may think now as I'm sharing this, yeah, but when I'm with people, I do feel better. I don't feel lonely. Of course, because if you're laughing, if you're talking, you might be distracted from your loneliness. Your loneliness isn't getting activated, right? So the loneliness is in us, but it's not activated when you're playing soccer. It's not activated when you're eating, maybe. It's not activated when you're working. It's only activated in moments when something happens that reminds you of the unsafety and pain you felt in your childhood, right? So if you have a partner, maybe when they're cuddling you, when they're looking at you nicely, you feel so good and warm and connected. Okay, but what happens when you're talking and they're not listening? What happens when they don't call you back right away? What happens when they don't have those bright eyes towards you like they're so happy to be there with you? What happens when they're upset? What happens when they're anxious? What happens when all these things? Now, all of a sudden, your loneliness is possibly activated, or you're afraid of your loneliness. You understand? Being stronger and stronger. So then you try to change your partner's feelings. I need to get them from afraid and angry to loving me again so I can feel good. You understand? So when we're not caring about them, or maybe they don't want to spend time with us for a few days, or don't want to call us back an hour later. And then we try to get it, or we're scared, or manipulate. How do I need to be different so that they call me back? I need to be funnier, I need to be cooler, I need to be whatever so that they give me what I want. Same with friends. How can I get my friends to call me? How can I get my friends to like me? How can I get my friends to laugh at my jokes, to want to spend time with me? Then we go into strategizing. How do I need to be? How do I need to act? I need to be smart. I need to be cool. I need to be more successful. I need to be more handsome. I need to be in better shape. So now all of a sudden it sets us up for a lifetime of strategizing and trying to improve ourselves, change ourselves, adapt so that other people will like us and treat us the way we want, just so we don't have our loneliness activated. If you haven't discovered this already, it's not a very efficient or effective strategy. So what's another strategy? Let me check in. But let's do it together. Let's rather than intellectually explain something, maybe I'll guide you into something. And I may guide you into it faster than you need. I often do that in videos unconsciously because I don't have the person in front of me, so it's hard to feel how long to wait for a response. But you can just kind of pause the video and take your time with it and see what happens. So, if you're watching this video, you know you have loneliness inside of you. Whether it's activated or not in this moment, I don't know. So in this moment, I invite you to close your eyes. And I want you to acknowledge to yourself in whatever way you can that it's nobody else's job to heal my loneliness, to fix my loneliness, eliminate my loneliness, or escape me from my loneliness. That I don't want to use other human beings, or even use my work or my hobbies or anything to escape my loneliness anymore. Because I acknowledge it's always only temporary, and it doesn't set me up for the type of relationships that I want in my life. See if you can make that acknowledgement and sort of declaration to yourself. I want to heal, release, let go of, love, meet my loneliness myself. I want to deal with my loneliness myself. Take responsibility for my loneliness myself, instead of asking for others to heal it for me. And once you've sort of made that commitment, it's time to meet our loneliness. So normally we're running away from it, escaping from it, using others to avoid it. But in this moment, I invite you to actively bring it to the surface. So your eyes are closed, and you say to your body, I'd like to feel the loneliness now. I'd like to invite it up to the surface. I'd like to meet it. And to sort of help you bring it up, you might need to tell a story. I'm all alone. I have no one. No one loves me. Whatever story seems to activate the loneliness. Now, when it arises, when you notice the experience, the felt sense of loneliness, take a few breaths. Notice whether it's taking you over or you're aware of it. This loneliness isn't who you are. It's not I am lonely, even though that's the common saying. I am aware of a sensation of loneliness. I'm aware of a sensation of my feet touching the floor. I'm aware of a sensation of my back touching my shirt. And this sensation that I call loneliness may appear in my head, my chest, my throat, my stomach, my solar plexus, or wherever it's showing up. But I'm aware of it. I'm noticing it. I exist when it's not here, and I exist when it's here. So it is not me. When it leaves, if it leaves, I will still exist. Now, for some of you, this feeling might be so familiar that it seems like it's a part of you. It's been here your whole life. So it seems. So it's so familiar, it kind of feels like your arm, like it's a part of you. That if it goes, it's almost scary and dangerous because it feels like losing a part of you. But I assure you, if it goes, you will still exist, and you will like your life a lot more. So we've brought up this loneliness, and we're starting to notice perhaps it's not who I am, it's an experience, a sensation, a feeling that I'm aware of. And maybe it feels almost too intense to handle, a little overwhelming, discomfort, uncomfortable, heavy, contracted, dense. But let's remember for a moment, this loneliness was created in a moment that you were unsafe as a baby or as a child. So imagine now, instead of it that it's a feeling inside of you or a sensation, imagine it's the baby version of you, scared, unsafe. That a moment in time when the baby you, the child you, the infant you, felt really unsafe. And that moment is showing up now. That moment is arising, that moment, what happened in that moment is now showing up within your experience. So instead of rejecting this feeling, pushing it away, burying it, ignoring it, running away, using others, I want to meet it with love and meet it in the way that it wasn't met in the time when it was created. So treat this feeling, this experience, as the child you, unsafe, scared. And I want you to ask the child, what do you need? What do you need right now to feel better, to feel safer, to feel calm? So you're asking the feeling as if the feeling is connected or a part of the child in that moment. Even if you don't see what the moment was, just ask, what do you need? And then hold space for the answer. In other words, listen. Don't try to change the child's feelings. Don't try to make it better. Just hear. Maybe she's crying. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he needs to shake. Maybe he needs to be heard. He says, listen to me, see me. So listen. See him. Maybe he needs to be held. Hold him. Imagine, visualize yourself holding the child, taking care of the child. Touch yourself with gentleness, with softness, if that's what he wants. Ask him, ask her, where do you need to be touched? How do you need to be held? What do you need? I will give it to you. And even do it in the physical reality now, at the same time as doing it in the energetic reality, the energetic plane. Allow this child, this infant, this baby, to express their fear, express their pain, express how much it hurts that they're not being seen, that they're not being taken care of. Give space and time to allow the expression of the buried fear and pain. And then give the child what they need, the love, the care, the softness, the gentleness. Oftentimes we just needed gentleness. We needed gentle touch, gentle words. But our parents couldn't give us that. They only met us sometimes with harshness, overwhelm, frustration, annoyance, disassociation. It's your time now to take care of the child in the ways that your parents couldn't do it. To be the parents to the inner child within. And notice what happens. For some of you, you might notice the expression of the emotion, of the fear. Maybe it's intense, maybe it's calm. For some of you, we might also notice the feeling of comfort and safety, of being nurtured and held and listened to and seen in the ways that the infant wanted, needed at that moment in time to feel safe. But for others, you might feel resistance. I don't deserve it. Or I don't trust you. Maybe the baby doesn't trust the adult you who's coming in. Sometimes it takes time to develop that trust. The child can think, well, you've never been there for me before. Why can I trust you? Why should I trust you? And so we just say to that child, I understand. You're right, I haven't been there for you. So I totally acknowledge and accept that you don't trust me. And I'm going to do everything in my power to help earn your trust. And I'm sorry that I wasn't there. I'm sorry I haven't been listening. I'm sorry I've been ignoring you. I'm deeply, deeply sorry. I'm doing the best that I can, and now I have new resources. I have new knowledge and wisdom that can help me to go towards you instead of running away. Please give me a chance. And be patient with this and gentle with this process. And for right now, if the child can't welcome your touch and your love, you can bring in an outside source, an outside source. So I want you to invite in a figure of a loving being. It could be a mythical person from a movie, from a religion, from the animal kingdom. Someone who you feel can give the child what they need. A figure that is calm, safe, gentle, solid. and invite them in to give the child care, to hold the child, to love the child, to be there for the child, to give them the sense that they are held in a cocoon of safety. And let it in. It can be like a grandfather, grandmother figure, like a Native American elder. It can be a bear. I don't know. Whatever you feel like, whatever you feel safe with, invite that in. And visualize, imagine that one holding you, caressing you, or giving you whatever it is that you need as that infant baby child. You deserve this. This is what's natural. So take this as an energetic frame of reference that you deserve this. This is the way forward. And whenever you feel lonely, whenever loneliness is activated, every time that your attention goes outward for the cure or the solution, you're ignoring the child and not giving them what they actually need. You're ignoring the feeling inside of you, which reinforces abandonment pain, reinforces unsafety. We can find all the safety within ourselves. It's our job to find safety within ourselves, to find love within ourselves, to give ourselves the love and safety and support that we're looking for from outside. The source of love from within ourselves, the source of safety from within ourselves is so much more vast, full, wonderful than what we can receive from others. But most importantly, it's enough. When we receive it from others, it's like there's a hole in the bottom of the cup. And so it's like it feels good for a moment, and then it goes, and then it goes, and then it goes. And we have to keep getting more. But when we give it to ourselves, we can actually heal the wound, so we don't need to keep looking for it. We just live from this base of safety and completeness and wholeness, instead of feeling lacking, something missing, alone, isolated, disconnected from the world. So I invite you back here. You can open your eyes if you haven't already. Back to this moment now. You are enough as you are. You are safe as you are, and you don't need anyone to be different than how they are. So whoever's in your life and you want them to be different so you can feel okay, you don't need that for you to feel okay. And if you're by yourself, I'm sorry. I'm sorry there aren't people in your life that are loving you and that you can enjoy. I'm sorry. But you have all the resources within you to give yourself the love, the joy, the care that you're looking for from others. And from there, it's not that then we don't want to spend time with people, we don't want a partner, we don't want friends. Of course we do. It's natural to want friendship and connection and people in our life and romance and all of this stuff and intimacy. So it's not that those things are bad or wrong or not wanted. They are. The question is, where does the desire come from? Where does the desire come from? Does it come from looking for completion, wholeness, fixing? Or does it come from wholeness and completion and safety and love? And then this way, when we're with others, we're not using them, we're not needing them. It's just a beautiful addition. Like if you have a desire to play soccer, then you enjoy playing soccer. It's not to make you, it's not to complete you or fix you. You just go because you just have the desire to play. It's not needed. It's just a natural desire. However, you may go to it because you feel unworthy, and you go to play soccer and want to win and prove that you win so you can feel good. You understand? So it's not wrong to play soccer. It's just a question of where are you coming from in your desire? And is where you're coming from serving you? Is it serving you? So that's one way to address the root of loneliness. It's not the only way. And of course, this is a very generic video to try to try to meet as many of you as possible. But if it didn't work, it's not your fault. If it didn't help, it's not because you're not good enough or anything's wrong. It's just it wasn't the right fit for you. So I welcome you to try this on your own, to try this again, and pause it in the moments you need to. And look inward to heal your loneliness, to let out, maybe I'll say something more about it, to address the root of loneliness. First, we want to acknowledge it's within ourselves. Take responsibility. It's only my job to heal it. And then it's to let out the loneliness, the unsafety, the fear, the pain that was buried in moments of unsafety. And we do that by listening to the child and supporting the child to express himself. And we can kind of visualize him crying, cry ourselves, visualize them screaming or shaking, scream or shake ourselves. And then the next step, the next part of it, is to give the love, safety, nurture, care, touch, connection to ourselves, to the inner child that we couldn't get or didn't get in the moment when we needed it. So I really hope that helps. Please share with me in the comments what your experience was with it, whether it helped you or didn't help you. I'd love to hear your experience, and maybe I'll reply to some comments to maybe clear up some confusions or distortions or things that don't seem to work. Or maybe I'll make another video based on the issues people are having. And if you like the video, you're welcome to subscribe, share it with a friend, and do all that sort of stuff. So thank you for watching. I hope it helped, and see you soon. Bye.